when it comes to setting goals for money, they should be linked to our purpose as opposed to just being for the sake
accumulation.
of accumulation. Yeah.
Right.
Purpose-driven goals as opposed to money-driven goals comes back to the question of what is this for and what's important for me in how I live my life.
You were not created for comfort. You were created for greatness.
Welcome to the Your Life Podcast, where we talk about how to integrate the virtues into our life and our finances. My name is Anthony Delazari, Associate Investment Advisor.
Sean Gregory, Portfolio Manager.
AJ Sanson, Associate Investment Advisor.
We are with Serving Capital at I Private Wealth, and our goal is to serve you so that your finances may serve your goals and your goals may serve the good. Nice.
Best meal ever. What was it? What's your most memorable meal ever?
That's a good question. In terms of being really good, I don't know, Sean, you might have to take this one first.
You know, I can't even remember what my favorite movie is. There's zero chance I can remember what my best meal I ever had was.
You know what? Full credit to my mom on this. The summer I interned with you guys, when I was away in Europe for the case study and World Youth Day and all that.
Yes.
When I got back, because I've been away for 6 weeks, I remember telling my mom, like, this is a really, really good meal. Like, this is probably one of my favorite meals that I've had in the past 6 weeks, because it was just, it was homemade and I hadn't had it, like, those flavors and that whole thing for a while. And I don't even remember what we had. I just remember like really, really enjoying it.
And you were coming back from the land of good food.
Well, it was, I don't want to say it was backpacking because it wasn't, but it was definitely a lot of moving around. Meals were not the first thing that were being considered. There was fantastic food that was had, come to think of it. Like the last week that I was there, I was in Germany and with some friends, and just the bratwurst and the different ways that you can make food brown. The Germans know how to do it. There was nothing green consumed in that leg of the trip. But
speaking of it being October in German,
Oktoberfest.
I
know. I heard about Oktoberfest. Some of my friends went.
I've been always meaning to go to Leavenworth, which is like...
It's in Washington. It's a little German town in Washington.
But they don't have any German heritage. They just decided to make it a Bavarian village.
Okay.
And it was, to my understanding, it's just like, I guess the city council or whatnot just said, hey, we need to up tourism. Let's make it a Bavarian town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Have you been, Sean?
No, I've heard of it.
Oh.
I didn't know it was for no reason that it became that way.
Yeah, it was supposedly just to drum up marketing and tourism in the area.
Yeah.
There's a puzzle for it.
Yeah.
What's on docket today?
All right. Well, the topic today is to have purpose-oriented goals rather than just the sole goal of wealth accumulation. So where that philosophy stems from, why we believe it's the best way to view money, and then simple practical applications of it. We'll see what we get into where the conversation goes. But the central claim is that when it comes to setting goals for money, they should be linked to our purpose as opposed to just being for the sake
accumulation.
of wealth accumulation. Yeah.
Right.
And I think the idea of wanting to just have wealth for the sake of wealth is because we live in a society where, value is tangible. It's a figure in a bank account. And so it's very easy to fall into the temptation to equivocate my worth as a person to that number in the bank account. But
your value as a person is on the basis of how many zeros you have before the decimal place.
Exactly. But I'll pull out some quotes here and then we can see where the conversation takes us. Again, all these coming from our favorite philosophers. This one's from Thomas Aquinas. Man's happiness does not consist in wealth, for wealth is merely instrumental. Man's happiness does not consist in wealth, for wealth is sought for the sake of something else. And then he also says, happiness is not found in the possession of external goods, but in the activity of the soul in accordance with virtue.
I think it's obvious how ridiculous it is to acquire money for its own sake if you replace money with something else. I'm going to amass tables. I'm going to amass streetlights, right? Like, no, of course not. Why would you ever do that? There's no point to that. But it's not that dissimilar from money for its own sake. Because what is the end of money? The end of money is to be used for something.
Yeah.
You're referencing money being a tool as opposed to the object of accumulation.
Yeah, but it's even worse. Actually, tables are more useful than money. Even a barn full of tables, you could have so many dinner parties. But if money that you don't spend is literally useless. Like it can't even keep you warm. I guess if you had a bit thick enough pile of cash, it maybe could keep you warm on a cold night.
Yeah.
But on its own, it has zero utility.
I appreciate the call out to the ridiculousness of just accumulation money and its actual ability to serve by itself as like these paper objects. But continue.
No, that was it. Okay, I'll try to continue. So, well, my other thought is, okay, you know the saying like money can't buy happiness? And obviously money can buy happiness. And by that I mean like it can enable so many things that are fun.
Sure. It can fill your life of comfortable material things.
Right. And fun, I mean, I'm happy when I'm fun, like having fun. I don't know who's not, but to what Thomas is saying is that that's not real happiness.
Yeah.
It's not like eternal happiness or, happiness with a capital H. It's having a good time.
Well, but riffing off what you shared is like,
Thank you.
is with the money, spending money, you have fun in that moment and then it's fleeting. It goes away. And then you're looking for the
But
next event to spend money.
It's the appearance of happiness.
Yes, because in that moment you feel like elated and like, this is great.
Well, but I think you bring up an interesting point when you talk about the feeling of happiness, because to take a step back, there's kind of three different levels of happiness or beatitude. There's the basic, which is pleasure, and what is pleasure? It's the satiation of a fleshly desire, and pleasure does not last beyond the temporal act that produces it. Happiness has more to do with our values. Am I happy with my state of being? And then joy comes from, is my being fully oriented towards and in communion with the highest ideals that there can possibly be? Yeah. But I think, Sean, to your point, the accumulation of wealth can kind of seem ridiculous, but what is the infatuation with it? And one thought that comes to mind for myself is that wealth enables us to have so much more potential. And there's a temptation to think that more potential is greater because I can do all these different things. But as Kierkegaard says, we talked about Kierkegaard, I believe, in our first podcast.
First episode, that's right.
Yeah. Kierkegaard talks about how we can actually end up being sad, or we can lose ourselves to wanting to be so many things, to not actualizing ourselves. So if we have all these potentials in a given situation, we have to choose to actualize one. Otherwise, we don't actualize ourselves, and then, well, who is ourselves? It's just a bunch of potential. It's not actual. And when we have all this money, then, well, who are we? Well, we're somebody with a lot of potential. We can do a lot, right? We're capable of buying these experiences or buying these material things, but who are you actually? And so where the virtue comes in is in discerning what is good, using right reason to discern right action in how we actualize the use of those monies. If that is money for the day-to-day spending, or if that is capital which is meant to be put to good use. And I think it's tempting because as soon as something becomes actual, it implies that we have to use our freedom to do that. And there's a risk, because if we just keep things stored up, then it's nice. I'm comfortable. I know that I can make decisions. Whereas if I don't have things, well, that really restricts my ability to make decisions. But again, freedom isn't the ability to do whatever I want, in which case having more and more money and having more potential through having that money makes us maybe feel all the more free. But in reality, if we conceptualize freedom as the ability to do what is good, as the ability to pursue our highest goals and our most noble ambitions, then we have to actualize ourselves. We have to use our freedom to do things. And the virtues are the mechanisms through which we do that.
I wanted to unpack something. Like earlier when you started, in terms of money be choosing for fun.
Yeah.
And that being equated to happiness, but a temporary happiness.
Yeah.
And you can go from moment to moment spending money and you could perhaps accomplish that. But I think your calling in terms of more a deeper happiness speaks to an honesty with oneself, who I am as a person, and spending money in alignment with that.
Yeah.
And then spending money in a way in which is for the benefit of others.
Yeah.
Like a higher level of happiness.
Yeah.
So living consistent with who you are.
Yeah. Well, so I had that thought as well. That, okay, money can buy you temporal happiness,
Right.
through doing something fun. It can also enable a better, more authentic happiness by buying something for someone else or in giving it away. So in that way, which you had to have the money first to even get to that point.
Fair.
So it does kind of enable that. But there is something else too beyond that, where you can still desire money for its own sake and be generous on the side, but you still have kind of missed the point. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Unpack it.
Let me try. So I was being purposefully ridiculous at the beginning in talking about of course it's ridiculous to accumulate money for its own sake because it's useless. But people don't desire money for its own sake, even people who are really greedy and all those things.
It's for what it can do.
And it's not even for what it can do. It's also for what it means to you, those other things like security, the fact that I never have to, or independence. I never have to rely on someone else. If I ever need to use this, I can, even if I don't use it. Do you guys see people go to the grocery store and they have accumulated vast sums of points that are literally useless and they never use them?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, oh, I might need it one day. Use your points. Why are you... Anyway, okay. It's a different rant. So, of course, people become attached to these other ideas. Money enables things, but it also enables influence, and it gives you security in the back of your mind. So we become attached to these other things, I think. So I think purpose-driven goals, as opposed to money-driven goals, comes back to the referencing the question of what is this for? And what's important for me in how I live my life for the benefit of myself or for the benefit of others or for spiritual reasons, raising your heart and mind to things above. And when you get into that realm, you realize that, oh, my security is not even in my financial wealth. Influence, power, those other things that come from money aren't even desirable goals. Really, this is to be given away, and I'm to live my life for other things.
I think it's a fantastic point. I got a quote here, but it's not quoted to anybody. This is terrible.
Did you see how Deloitte, major accounting firm, had to refund the Australian government $400,000 for a report they did that referenced court cases that never happened.
Really?
It quoted people that
How did that
never
happen?
existed. They used the AI to help them write this
I see.
report.
So
Interesting.
and it made up these facts.
Inaccuracies
Okay.
and
Wow.
things. And yeah.
These facts, air quotes, facts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting. Yeah. I'll go off that. I've got a quote from AI, but it's not attributed to anybody, but very much in vein with the other notes that were created.
So it
Says-
becomes your quote now?
No, I'm not going to like play into it because I think it's a pretty good quote. Man affirms himself most fully by giving himself. That theme has to have come up in a number of different writers.
Repeat the quote one more time.
Man affirms himself most fully by giving himself. In response to what you were saying, because you were talking about, and I just had a point here that was very good. So it's very important to understand what we define as good. And that takes a lot of humility. That takes a lot of introspection to be able to understand why am I doing what it is that I'm doing. Because I think not enough people take time to have those conversations with themselves, with their loved ones. But as Augustine says, order is the arrangement of things equal and unequal, giving each its proper place. And so to pursue the good, we have to understand, how am I ordering things as they are? Is there a disorder to what is going on in my life at present? If I'm saying that my goals are A, B, and C, well, my time is being allocated as, I don't know, E, F, G sort of thing. It's one thing to say that these are my priorities, but are they actually my priorities? If I look at how much time is being spent in my week, if they're not, then there's going to be an interior disorder, and chances are a lot of our unhappiness or our discontent with life and our dissatisfaction with ourselves potentially can be coming from that. So being able to order things in the right way. And so the first things that kind of come to mind are obviously, well, yeah, where is the place of family? Where is the place of work? How stressed am I? And I think something worth mentioning here is John Paul II's quote that work is for man, not man for work. And I believe one of the temptations that comes from wealth accumulation is believing that work is where my worth is. And when work is where your worth is, then your work doesn't become important because you are doing it. You are doing it because it's important. And I think that can be a bit of a backwards conception if you're only doing it because it's going to give you value, if you're only viewing work as something that is transactional as opposed to good in itself. If you're just viewing work for the monetary value it can give you, you're going to be very frustrated because, well, the monetary value is just to increase your potential. And what have you done? Well, you've glorified money, and now you're a slave to work because your work is for money, and it's all transactional as opposed to something greater as a means of actualizing good in the world.
I think along with that is that those decisions are easy if like to say I go to work to earn money, I save so I can have more money, I invest so that money can make its own money. Right? It's a simple thought process.
Yeah.
And it's a one of those, I'm not sure if I'm using this right, heuristics or like shortcuts in thinking
Yep.
where you can get to the end very quickly and it didn't take a lot of mental stress. But to be goal driven or purposeful driven, you start to ask yourself questions that can be uncomfortable.
Yeah. The real question.
And not just like, oh, what are my goals? I want to buy a house and send my kids to school. But if you dig deeper and you say like, and ask yourself, to what end is money for? What does it mean to me to live a good life? What is the point of life at all? Like you can really walk down a path that takes a lot of contemplation and asks a lot of you. You have to weigh priorities and it's difficult. It's effortful to get there. And maybe, deep in your subconscious, you are aware that you don't have good answers for those questions, so you don't even want to ask them.
Yeah.
I think in your sharing, I can't help think of, say you get together for a cocktail mixer, kind of a business networking event, and the common beginning conversation point is, what do you do for a living? As if that's the core of your identity.
Yeah.
And it's easy to go into that thought process.
Yeah.
I am who I am because of what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I am what I do. Yeah.
Based on my function and my utilities on the basis of that.
I am what I do. I am what I have, not I am who I'm trying to be, if that makes sense. Yeah. And one of the points that's brought up in here is that we achieve happiness through our being, not through our having. And that being fundamentally is, well, how well do we exercise the virtues? How well are we using our free will? If we're saying our priorities are A, B, and C, are they A, B, and C? And how am I
And in that
living
example, you're making B the priority.
Yeah,
Because you're
exactly.
expressing it that way.
Yeah.
Where if you give it a little bit more thought, well, why do I really work? It's because I have a family, I have responsibility in that way, and I'm trying to establish these resources to give to my kids so that they can have other opportunities, as an example.
Yeah.
And so the truer response is like, well, I'm a father.
Yeah.
I'm a husband.
Yeah.
And as a result of that responsibility, it's also because I work.
Yeah.
And that's where my given talents are for me to provide for my family.
Yeah. And it's a simple question too, but it's not a question that gets much deeper. And it's not a question that speaks to the fullness of the person who you're talking to when you ask them, what do you do for work? One of my favorite conversation starters that I've ever heard, and you guys probably know who asked this, he'll always say something that isn't just like, what do you do for work? It's, what's your story? Or
Yes.
what is your place in all this?
Which draws out that, like, what's your meaning in work
Exactly.
itself?
And that question just captures the fullness of the person
Right.
so well. So that person
And a better
feels,
assessment of who
yes. And the person, whenever like I've been asked that question, or I've thought about how would I answer that question, it's, this person's very much interested in my entire self. They're not just interested in something transactional, and they don't
the
see
superficial.
Exactly. They don't
Right.
see the world as transactional. They see the world as something with deeper meaning. They see fundamentally people as people who have dignity and value, not just a commodity that is their labor.
Right.
I'm thinking of cocktail mixer opening lines now. Like, what's your blood type? What color's your underwear?
I like asking, like, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Yeah.
Which can lead to family or to other passions that they have as hobbies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because, I guess that's one of the questions I dread. What do you do for life? And then it feels like I got to pitch everyone as to how important I am and just makes it all about me.
Yeah.
Well, I hope in conversation it's not about me. It's like, I'm more interested in you guys.
And it's interesting because I found when I've asked that, so what do you do for work? It's always hoping to be followed up with, and you, and then give like the
Right.
quick elevator pitch,
Right.
which is, again, is transactional. And obviously I just said, like, I definitely fall.
But I think it also does a disservice to us is because we are more than just our work.
And that's the thing. That's what I love about having a narrative-based question that is, what is your story? What is your place in all this? Because it just leaves it so open, but it, at the same time, kind of gives the two of you this goal of getting to. It's not just this work that's, placed between us, but there's, like, what is this thing beyond us that brings the two of us together? That's what I'm trying to figure out by asking this question.
And I think in our work, it's easy to just go into like, okay, the money and then how much you've accumulated and whatnot. But I think there's a tremendous privilege we have is we get to live vicariously or see a window into the lives of others that have a different life than our own.
Yeah.
Get to see what their priorities are and allows us an opportunity to contemplate in our own lives and perhaps the lives that we've helped serve in others of familiarities of how they did things certainly different to accomplish that goals that's unique to them and more attuned to how they're living their life. Like, how would my life be if I was a new lawyer? What does that look like?
Yeah.
I can remember helping another lawyer in this way. And these were the challenges they came Like,
Yeah.
I could bring that to the table now before they come into those obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah. And being able to have those types of conversations.
And it's because we've been exposed to those conversations. We get to instill that wisdom from those conversations to others. It's an opportunity to kind of give back and mentor in a little bit in our roles
Yeah.
as financial planners.
Yeah. I've got another JP2 quote.
Do
and
it.
then I want to talk about goal setting. Kind of, Sean, bring it back to what you were talking
All
about
right,
earlier.
and then I've got another opening line.
Okay, perfect. Well, okay, what's the opening line? Maybe we should.
What's the best meal you've ever had?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's interesting because sometimes you can have opening lines just for the sake of having a opening line.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think I'm just I like very much the idea of asking that like narrative based question. But yeah, that is another one.
Well,
Very good
of
one.
other ones, I like asking, oh, how do you know so-and-so?
Yeah.
And then it's just the challenge of like, how does everyone know each other? And then you can also kind of draw similarity as you know that same person and the attributes in which you admire.
Yeah.
And then just changes the context of the conversation as opposed to, I do this.
Yeah.
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 I have more, but I won't. I'll stop.
Yeah.
That's all I
Okay.
think about now.
This John Paul II quote.
Okay.
Do not be afraid of failure. Be afraid of life without meaning. I think that's pretty blunt. It's pretty hard.
Well, it's courage.
Yeah,
It
it
speaks
is
to the
courage.
courage it takes to think about those things and to strive and to try.
Yeah.
And because it's more sad never to have tried than to have tried and failed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. And even
How about this? How fast can you run 100 meters?
It's been a long time. I've only run to that extent back in like track in elementary school. I don't know. I would dare.
He's falling from my opening line. I'm just giving you opening lines, AJ.
Oh,
I don't actually want to know.
Okay.
I mean, actually, I do now. Now that you mention it.
yeah.
We should do a race after this.
I'll get winded after like 30 meters or something like that. I think Anthony would win with your longer stride.
I don't know. Sean did soccer, so he might.
Oh,
After a long time. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to win. But okay, what were we talking about?
Oh yeah, so yeah, just the John Paul II quote of, "Do not be afraid of failure. Be afraid of life without."
Was it
meaning."
John Paul II that also spoke like a quote in similar vein is, "You were not created for comfort. You were created for greatness."
Yeah. Even Stoic philosophers. I know my football coach in high school said, what was it? Something to the effect of like, you're meant for more than staying in like the warmth of your bed in the morning type thing. And just being that like, sometimes that challenge of, oh man, like, yeah, my bed is so comfortable. That's like, no, yeah, you're made for more than that.
Well, yeah, so it's more than just, okay, it demands courage of you, but what it really is a call to magnificence.
And magnanimity. So I've got another quote here. And this is the separate part that I wanted to go into, because I think one of the challenges when it comes to setting purpose-driven goals is, well, how do we set goals? And I think a great virtue to implement into goal setting is magnanimity. So Aquinas writes, magnanimity makes a man deem himself worthy of great things in proportion to the gifts he has received.
Say one more time. It's got to hit.
Magnanimity makes a man deem himself worthy of great things in proportion to the gifts he has received. Put differently, magnanimity, I know Aquinas has also said, is the insatiable appetite for great things. And so when we are setting our goals, are we really trying to flesh out what is the greatest possible thing that can come from this? If I want to, for example, own a home to raise a family, what does that home look like? Is that just like, all right, I can finally have the monetary value to put into a home? Or
is it a home for home's sake, or is it a
Yeah.
home for these people to flourish?
Exactly.
And for family life to be, life-giving and those kind of things.
Yeah. Is it a material goal of like, sweet, I got to this point? Or is it also a magnanimous goal to say, this is a place where my kids are able to play and they love having their friends over. Their friends love coming here. We have it designed or, dressed up so that people love coming here and we're able to entertain, have, family dinners here. We're able to have friends over here every now and again. And it's a place where people feel welcome and want to talk and have these real conversations. I think is another thing. Like
It also goes the other way, where people, I think, end up with goals that they think they should have because other people have told
Yeah.
them they should have them.
Yeah.
Without really thinking that this is what it means for me to live out greatness.
Yeah.
And if you are a single person, no family, like maybe you don't need to buy a home or think that this is what it means for you to have, made it or achieved some level of accomplishment.
Because you hit these markers which are socially acceptable and which what it is to be considered successful.
You all this money you saved over time and put away, like maybe you could have used that for other ends to achieve what greatness meant to you.
Coming back to your quote, I like it as allowing oneself to have permission to dream big
Yeah.
And I think the importance of goal setting is set big goals. That's good.
Yeah.
And then reassess, do you have the means? If not, how do you attain
Oh, I
the
got
means?
it. Opening line in the mixer. What's your purpose?
Well, that's deep. You might get someone turned away as like, oh, that's too much.
This is oversharing.
Well, but even asking what are your goals, and I think AJ, to your point, to be able to dream, but then also with humility, and that's
Yes.
that's the link between magnanimity and humility. To be able to humbly first recognize what is it that I have, what are my talents, what am I capable of, what am I being called to, and then from there having the magnanimity, which means magna and anima, greatness and soul, to have the greatness of soul, to dream of what is the most that can be made out of this. Right. Not what's the most that I can possibly have. That's different. That's not humility. Now, as soon as you've lost that foundation of humility, it's difficult to build any other virtue if you don't have a foundation. But if you have that foundation of humility, saying what is the most that I can do with what I have been given.
I think a goal in which is just slightly out of reach is a good goal.
Yeah, one that makes you just a little bit
little
uncomfortable.
bit better, right?
It's like when you're trying to give, don't give what you're comfortable with. Give right until when it hurts.
Right.
And I forget exactly who said it, so I'm sure people can find out. But many people have said something to that effect.
So, I mean, a goal that's just slightly out of reach just speaks with the humility in which what I'm able to do.
Yeah.
It just stretches you to just
a touch
it's
more.
possible.
Yeah, just a touch more.
And I think that's where goals become or should start out.
Yeah.
And then when you hit it, then it's just a little bit bigger than that. And then it just pursues eventually a magnificent goal that you would never have thought of accomplishing.
Yeah. And that challenge is where the growth is, which is as
And don't be afraid
simple
of
as you can be.
challenge because coming
because-
back to JP2, the failure.
Yeah, because if it comes from meaning, then failure is part of the process. Like
Right.
anybody who's challenging themselves is failing that over and over and over and over again. Even, I don't know if it was this podcast or the last podcast that we just recorded, but my godfather who got into this weightlifting routine, his whole thing is train virtually right to failure, which is interesting because it's not comfortable at all to train to failure almost every rep. But that's, if you're serious about wanting growth,
That's how you grow.
That's what has been shown to provide the most growth. And for myself, that's what I've noticed is that when I'm like, all right, suck it up, like you got to lift. And does that happen all the time? No, not at all. Right. But having the humility to say, okay, I need to get better with that. And then coming back to that over and over and over again really helps develop as a person. And it helps you develop those virtues, and it helps you see the beauty in suffering done for purpose. Was it Viktor Frankl who said, man can go through anything in life except for not having purpose, or something to that effect? Yeah.
I think that's why people love underdog stories.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Is because like even movies, I think there's just a commonality that we love that failure, and then the glorious accomplishment
Yeah.
of what that original goal was. But this element of perseverance,
Yeah.
and it can't help. That's sports. I think of the Canucks. Yes, they fail on a regular basis, but there's always this hope that
Yeah.
it's going to be different this year with Coots and Lekkermacki on deck. Like it's going to be a different year.
Didn't they do well last year or the year before?
No, the year before they did.
Okay.
Last year was kind of tough.
Yeah.
But the failure will just make the greatness sweeter. Yeah. So there's my hockey sports reference.
Yeah, but nobody likes an underdog story where they just still end up losing.
True. But but that hope and knowing that there will succeed was like there's a persistence there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta have hope.
I'm-
That's it. You gotta have
yeah,
hope.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Final quote. Another JP2. Let us not measure life by what we accumulate, but by what we give away for love.
I can't remember where I heard this, but for persons who are spiritually inclined and to use that as motivation to give, that you can think about every dollar that you give away as putting a dollar in your piggy bank. Oh, it was the New Polity guys. I get so much good stuff from them. Yeah, it was totally was them. And I think that is such a good visual that, is it dollar for dollar? Who knows? But it's nice to think about this act of me giving away is putting into my heavenly bank account.
Yeah. Storing up your treasures in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like that.
But like the direct connection,
Yeah.
I thought was an interesting insight. It's what I tell my kids. The kids had an argument last night at the playground. They were fighting and screaming and crying because one thing we say to them when we're having issues about who's going to go first or second, taking turns for things is, okay, well, last on earth, first in heaven. And so they were fighting over who was going to be last.
Nice.
And it ended in tears. And then it got to the point that James was making fun of Pippin for going first. It was like, you have totally lost, missed the point. So I had to give him turns going last, but anyway.
Oh, man. AJ, any closing thoughts?
I think of the multiplicity of the good effect of giving money away. You might be giving away to this one person, but the effect that just ripples as a result of that.
Yeah.
And you may not see it, as opposed to like just you spending it yourself. There, you might be able to get that thing, good experience, but the ripple effect that can occur when you give it away, and far in excess of what you could have done with it,
Yeah.
as a possibility.
Brilliant.
I mean, you should save that for our podcast on almsgiving, not our podcast on purpose-driven wealth.
Hey,
I'll bring it back up.
Sets it up.
Yeah, just take
Edit
it
it,
from this
cut.
one. Yeah, but
Put it in the next. Yeah, maybe. All right.
Anthony, where have we had listeners?
We've had listeners primarily in Canada, but we've also had a couple in Costa Rica, Japan, and Ireland. I don't think they found the podcast on purpose because there was just one or two from each of those countries. But our podcast is pretty small. If you enjoy what you're hearing in this podcast, any sort of interaction goes a long way. You can also consider interacting with us. You can send us an email at info@serviumcapital.ca or visit our website and reach out to us from there. We'd love to hear any ideas you guys have, questions you have that we can address in the podcast. Thank you for listening. I'm Anthony.
I'm Sean.
I'm AJ.
This podcast has been prepared by Sean Gregory, who is a portfolio manager, AJ Sanson, and Anthony De Lazari, who are associate investment advisors for IA Private Wealth Inc. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the portfolio manager and investment advisors only, and do not necessarily reflect those of IA Private Wealth Inc. IA Private Wealth Inc. is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. IA Private Wealth is a trademark and business name under which IA Private Wealth Inc. operates.